There's been a lot of research done, and there is a growing body of material attesting to this. Even a very good book called "Where Does Money Come From," edited by the NEF, the New Economics Foundations, foundation, with the contribution of an organization called Positive Money, that is very active here in the UK to spread awareness about the current status of affairs as far as money is concerned. And also Professor Richard Werner from the University of Southampton is a quite reputable scholar. And this book, in a nutshell, explains or reveals in what way money is created today, meaning that around 96% of the money we use is created out of nothing by private commercial banks. When they issue a loan, a mortgage, they create this money out of nothing. I mean, just through a keyboard on a computer. And then not only that, which is already worrisome, because this information dispels the myth, the very rooted myth of banks as intermediaries between borrowers and savers. The banks taking your grandmother's lifetime savings and giving them to the entrepreneur who wants to start a business. Well, this is completely unfunded. This is not true. Banks don't give savers money to borrowers. Otherwise, you as a savers, you wouldn't be able to access your money, which is always accessible all of the time. So obviously, these people do create money, and they do this through this mechanism of fractional reserve banking. But even more, I would say, important or equally important than this is the way that these people, being the creators of the vast majority of money we use, digital money, not very much cash nowadays, especially in the UK, we use digital money, and these people decide where to channel this money. They decide where to allocate this money, whom to lend money to, in a way. So they will tend, being entities that are subject to an imperative of profit maximizations, they will tend to give money to people or ventures that ensures the maximum return. And normally house pricing, house bubbles that inflates the prices of houses, or extraction of oil or tar sands in Canada, or all sorts of speculations. Normally they tend to channel the money not to the productive economy, but they give it rather to the speculative economy. And that's why we have seen, the recent, it has been going on for quite a long time, but a constant increase in the price of houses. So they have this dual power to actually create the money that we use, and they don't, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I can gather, I don't see why they should have this special privilege, because these banks, they don't even have gold reserves or anything. This is a fiat money regime. It's money by decree. It is money because we have all agreed through unfortunately the coercive power of the state and its ability to tax people to accept this as genuine money. But in a way, it's quite a formidable power that these entities have, and they don't have any real wealth backing it. The money is really a matter of faith today.
That's what I was going to ask. When a bank gives a loan, let's say for example you take out a mortgage and you're going to be paying the bank back for 40 years, is the bank actually risking anything when it's giving you this money?
The bank
are they putting anything up?
Well, you see,
because you're putting up the sweat of your 40 years work to pay it off.
My impression, my feeling is that they are not risking much, because if things go bad, they will always get bailed out. If we were in a traditional capitalist system, whatever that means, but there are a lot of people who say this is not true capitalism. But in true capitalist system, you have enterprise risk, and if enterprises fail, they don't get bailed out, and they disappear. And this is sort of like market self-disciplining itself. But unfortunately, this is not the case. So your question is very pertinent. You say, I'm slaving my life off 40 years to pay some fake money that these people created on an Excel spreadsheet. And I have not only to pay the principal they give me, but also the interest, which is even more outrageous because the banks didn't even create the money to pay the interest in the first place. So I have to struggle and compete with other fellow human beings to find that money and extinguish the loan. So I'm giving them my life, and they're giving me an asset, the house that they didn't, they acquired in a very fraudulent way, because the builder, at least they put some energy in building the house, but the bank immediately, the moment you get the house, they get the property deed, and they become the legal owner of the house until you have, of the car or whatever you buy at credit, until you have paid it off at interest. So basically, the worst that can happen is that you foreclose, you cannot pay your mortgage, and you get foreclosed, and they repossess your house. Well, they end up with the real, tangible good, which is the house.
That's the point.
You are left not only with, homeless without a roof on your head, but I think that in England you can't even walk away from your debt. Something that you can, for instance, do in the United States, that you can just give the keys back and you are discharged from any further debt. But I think that here in England you have a more stricter legislation that penalizes the borrower, and you are still hooked on the money. The difference of the money, they probably will try to sell, the bank will try to sell the repossessed asset, and if they don't manage to recoup all the money, then you will still be in, hooked for the liable for the difference in a way. And this is obviously a form of covert slavery in a way. We can say the bank, with what right the bank is owning the house that they haven't done anything to contribute to the creation in the first place. So, no, I would say that this is a very parasitic system that enormously, I would say, and unfairly gives advantage to these entities like banks who have the power to create money, and puts all the burden on citizens, on people who have unfortunately to borrow their money to survive or to buy things.
And of course the ultimate, I don't know if I call it an irony, but of course someone with lots of money is earning interest, and someone who's poor is paying interest. So essentially the poor are paying for the rich. And this is, I guess, is probably the way it's always been. But I mean, that again, that's just a very simple statement that, to a certain point, I never even thought of. It's not that I didn't think it was true. I just never thought of it.
It's the good old exploitation, and it's what I call, I define the money pump in a way, or we can also call it the trickle up effect.
Trickle up.
Instead of the trickle down, meaning that this now utterly discredited theory saying that if you let the rich grow rich and amass a lot of money, then wealth will trickle down. Now we start to understand that actually wealth only trickles up thanks to this money pump mechanism. Those who have money,
sucking the wealth.
The rich one, and by rich I would say those who have more money than they actually need to live, lend it to the poor. They are those who don't have enough money, and they have to work for their money. And actually they by doing so they also extract rent in the form of interest, and so all the money goes basically from the poor who have to work and pay back their debts, up to those actually who make their money. It's like a suction pump. And the rich make their money, they make their money work for them, while the poor have to work for their money. This is an important difference. And there is some research made by Margaret Kennedy in Germany. She published a book explaining that roughly dividing actually the population in slices of 10%, and showing that only the top 20% manages to receive more income actually from interest than they have to pay in interest, while the bottom 80% actually they spend more in paying interest than the amount of money they receive in interest on their savings. So that's how the money pump works.
That's how it works.
Top 20%. Yeah.